Welcome back, and now we have one of my favorite people, Sean Feucht. And Sean is kind of like remarkable in the sense that I run into him all over the place. I mean, he is like in all these different locations. He's on the front lines, like a revival troubadour. Wherever there's a flashpoint and a battle, there's Sean willing to show up. Sean, thanks for joining us today. And you're up in Washington right now, right? You're leading and celebrating some worship after the decision.
Yes, I am. I'm on Capitol Hill right now in our new prayer room that we have here. And we're 2 blocks away from the Supreme Court where we were this morning, celebrating the victory of all that God's done, a 50-year prayer request answered by the church. Come on. So we were dancing in the streets, worshiping, and it was incredible.
Well, all right. So now I was surprised. There's a young prophet named Joseph Z, I think, and well, young. When at my age, everybody's young, or young who's not my age. So anyway, he said, watch for the reaction of the church with Roe v. Wade. It's going to be a prophetic sign of its own regarding the state of the church. And I hadn't thought of this, but then I noticed significant churches in my own backyard here in Dallas were astutely avoiding any provocation that could attach itself to the decision for life. And I thought, wait a second, this guy was saying, watch the reaction. I was surprised that pastors did not want to discuss even a verdict as significant as the overturning of Roe v. Wade, as though it would make their church, as one said, I want us to be a safe place. So evidently it's not safe to overturn abortion, or what? I don't even know the logic of it. But you've seen this probably more in depth than me. Tell me this. What is out there in the church world? So obviously, we got some celebrating, but I'm surprised that we got those in art. Is that surprising you?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you would have told me when I was a teenager, and I really got this burden for intercession for the reversal of Roe v. Wade, if you would have told me that it would happen in my lifetime, number one, I don't know if I would have believed you. And number two, I would have thought there would have been 100,000 Christians on the streets of DC celebrating what happened. And that's not the amount that we had when we were worshiping out there this morning. I think that what you're seeing is the polarization. What you're seeing is shameful and sobering to see the state of the church, where we can't even thank God publicly and celebrate that he answered a prayer that we've been praying for 50 years. I mean, it really is a dividing line in the sand for people of faith right now. And I'm as shocked, just as shocked as you. But also, I think it's actually a separation that's probably needed. And if you can't celebrate that God has answered the prayer of ending child sacrifice, ending that protection by the Constitution, then man, I don't know what you can celebrate, and I don't know why you even have a church, and I don't know what kind of theology you're preaching. So I think in many ways Christians are paying attention right now to what side these leaders are on.
I think that's so true. And here's my take on this. I believe that a lot of leaders are making a miscalculation. They're thinking their biggest problem is these political activist Christians in their church who want them to be more vocal about life or about critical race theory or about the election. And so the pastors are basically looking at those people as kind of like nut jobs they have to keep in the church, and they're trying to tap it down because they don't have a problem with apathetic, weak, disengaged, or necessarily woke pacifist Christians in the church. They're just going to sit there apathetically. So the ones that are stirring up the pastor actually are bothering the pastor because the pastor doesn't want to lose people and get political. But here's the other side of it. When you have a populist movement, it's a reaction of people against elites and leaders that are out of touch. The left is going to go right back to the streets. We saw the playbook. It's statues coming down, anger rage, media manipulated sound bites, all kinds of race rage, this rage and that rage. On the right, you're going to see the populist base rising up right now, wanting leaders that are going to deal with the elites and the status quo. If these woke pastors or politically sensitive pastors refuse to lead, I think it's going to hurt him. I think it's going to create a vacuum for a whole new breed of leadership who may be really not well qualified, but they'll answer the call. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that in some sense, but I also feel like we're calling hypocrisy on these guys where they're forcing people to post a black square, during the BLM riots. They're forcing people to have difficult conversations around race, and they're injecting the social justice dogma into their sermons and into what they talk about. And here we are, the greatest social justice catastrophe of a lifetime has been reversed, which targeted, specifically abortion targeted, African-American babies. Margaret Sanger, she was the author of it. We know the story. And here we are on the edge of it being on the post it being overturned, and those same pastors aren't saying anything. And I think that is what is very telling of their motives behind it. I saw a post that said something like, I wish abortion, saving babies from abortion was as popular as racism in the church. Maybe we'd have more cool church pastors speaking about it. And in some ways, it really is true.
I think you're absolutely right. Mercedes, as I was going to say single mom, but obviously you're not. You're married and have a child. No, I'm always thinking of single moms because of Annabelle's work, but it's just it's the way my brain is working right now. But right. As a mother with a daughter, so are you? What's your temperature gauge on women? You're around them, but maybe your circle is on fire. I think the mama bears are starting to come alive on the subject of family this year.
Yeah, I think mama bears are almost always alive on the subject of family. And, just to highlight some of the conversation you guys have been having, it reminds me of the podcast we did with George Barna recently, where he said the biblical worldview, as far as when it comes to senior pastors, is about 38%. And I think that this, like you're saying, that Joseph Z., say, hey, watch how your church reacts to this, because if we can't celebrate babies being saved and no longer disassembled within the womb, the safest place for a baby should really be in a womb, then there's something really wrong. And it's incredibly sad and shocking that this has been the response.
I did a video last night, Sean, where I kind of went on like a rant, and I was reading from Sammy Rodriguez, who wrote something for The Stream, I guess, which is James Robison's digital magazine. And he said, hey, this terrible, season with the baby abortions is now over from the federal level. Now the battle's going to go to the states, but this is the chance for us as a church to actually stand up, because the church is the most generous part of the American sector of the economics. We give, we tithe, we labor, we're the philanthropic force behind all the good work that goes on. Now we need to do adoption. Now we need to be helping these single moms. Now we need to help the mothers. This is a great moment for us to follow up our prayers and the Supreme Court with our engagement. To me, that's easy for a pastor to say, and that would be, not even a woke person would have a problem with that.
Right.
But they avoided the subject. So what would you say to a church?
Yeah, I mean, when I hear people say, now's the time to do the work, we got to do the work, I'm kind of like, dude, the church has been doing the work for 50 years. I mean, there's 9 pregnancy centers for every 1 abortion clinic. The church, evangelical Christians are by far the largest block of people that adopt kids. We fund pregnancy centers. We do outreach and help single moms. I mean, this is not like something we haven't been doing. Like, this is hard. I mean, even this weekend, Lance, like, I had 4 couples that I know that God led them supernaturally through dreams and visions to say, I want to adopt a baby. They just decided on the heels of this decision. So God's moving. Like he's orchestrating this whole thing. He's going to have a way to take care of the kids, to take care of the single moms. I just feel like we need to just thank him. Like, I'm about to do a praise break on your show right now. I don't even know who watches this show, but some of y'all need to just praise God and thank him that this happened in our lifetime, that we get to be alive to see the death decree of this heinous demonic law overturned.
Amen.
And to think that, and what is the great saying by Hemingway, is it? At first, it was gradual, and then it was suddenly. And what strikes me as interesting is I really, over the course of the years, I wasn't seeing this suddenly happening, but we talk about it. I mean, I have friends of mine that are on the cases, and they're saying, hey, we got a lot of cases in the docket this year. But I'm telling you, man, it shows that things can change rather quickly. And I feel as though that there's a window of grace here over the United States, that God is saying, hey, I'm at work, and if you'll work, I'm at work, and that together we're going to see a window of change happening. This should put hope into those that have been despairing of good news, and it should wake us all up to see that God is at work answering prayer. Cumulatively, it may take a little longer than you want, but it becomes a powerful, inevitable force, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Again, God works in mysterious ways. You think about, I was just meditating on this idea, that, they wanted Ruth Bader Ginsburg to resign so bad during the Obama years, and her own ego caused her to not resign. She probably thought Hillary was going to win. Hillary didn't win, and bam, she dies. And it was her own ego that drug her into this situation. We would not be here if that had not happened. And here you have Trump, which people didn't even know if he was going to, do what he said he would do. A lot of mistrust. A lot of people don't know. And here 3 Supreme Court justices are put in by a guy a lot of people didn't even trust, and God used him. And now, I mean, what are we celebrating today? We're celebrating the fact that we can pray at high schools and football games now. I mean,
Coach Kennedy,
it's just, we're on a win streak.
I know, and we have to be careful about jumping too quickly to conclusions, because I'm almost half enjoying watching the never Trumpers and the qualified Trump. Okay, he did this right. They all have to acknowledge it was Trump's administration that made this win possible, even though they didn't like him. So, Sean, we love you. Thank you for your time. You've been so generous with us while you're working up there in Washington. Look forward to hearing from you from time to time. Keep us posted on the front lines of the Great Awakening, because I believe it's happening and you've got a front row seat. Thanks for joining us.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for having me on. God bless you guys.
God bless you, Sean.
I wrote a book, and I talked about Haggai, the prophet, talking about God is going to shake all the nations, including economic systems. And then just recently, I got challenged by a verse. It says, the silver is mine and the gold is mine. And I began to think, you know what? I'd hate to find out there was a promise and a warning here on silver and gold, and I never even thought about it. And that's the reason why I want you guys to do something right now. You want to get a 20-page special report on silver and gold. Go to lancewallnau.com/Birch, because Birch Gold is one organization that is being used by a lot of very credible people right now in order to position themselves with silver and with gold. You need to now start to look into this and learn what it is that maybe God was trying to say, that the silver is mine and the gold is mine. Go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and find out for yourself.
Hey, we've been able to hold Sean over for just a little bit on this segment. I know he's a busy guy, but he was kind enough to hang with us for a minute. The point I was going to make was that that people may complain about Donald Trump, and they may say, oh, but look, I'm enjoying the fact that they have to praise him if they're pro-life. But here's the other mystery. You heard Sean say mysteries. If it hadn't been for Scalia dying during the Obama administration, the anxiety over replacing that Supreme Court justice forced a lot of never-Trumpers. I know it because you, Hewitt, and several others said a Republican has to win. You can't coast this year. It has to be. And once Trump got the top of the ticket, it was people worried about Scalia's seat had been vacated. We need a conservative, or the court is going to crush us. We know how liberals love to legislate from the bench. So it could be argued that even Scalia's tragic death created the circumstance that necessitated the alliance behind Trump, that led to the appointment of 3 justices and the death of Ginsburg at the best time possible, so that we would be able to see Roe v. Wade overturned, as well as freedom of speech protected with Coach Kennedy, as well as the Second Amendment right in terms of bearing arms. And And I just wonder, what the left is going to do. But Sean, can we get Sean back for a second? Well, Sean, you're hearing me.
Here.
You're here. Thanks for coming back, buddy. So you're hearing me talk about this. The hand of God is providential in so many ways, and you're seeing it as you're going. Can you share with people a little bit about your ministry and what you do for those that aren't familiar with you? Because you're an interesting convergence of running for office in Congress, a dynamic musician with albums and stuff, and also a dedicated Christian who goes out and does rallies. Talk a bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so I mean, we have an incredible mandate in this season. We're hosting revivals all across America. It's called Let Us Worship, and we've gone to over 170 cities. Started in the middle of the pandemic in 2020. Actually started on the Golden Gate Bridge in lockdown California, and just this last weekend we were in South Chicago with thousands of people in the hood of Chicago, in a place of violence and terror, and we brought inner city pastors together, and God showed up and people got saved and healed and delivered. It was just an incredible time. And so we're continuing this Awake America tour that's going to culminate on October 22nd in Washington, D.C. on the National Mall. This will be about 9 days before the midterms. And so it's going to be very powerful. The timing is totally God. We got the permit. We're real excited. So that'll be on October 22nd. We need everybody to show up. We're going to have the biggest worship party for Jesus in Washington, D.C. I also have a book that's coming out next month called Bold. It's been canceled by two of the biggest publishers in America. Thankfully, Regnery with Salem picked it up, and it's being released. You can pre-order it on Amazon. You can pre-order it on Barnes and Noble. It's coming out middle of July. It's called Bold. You can search my name, Sean Feucht, Bold, and you can pre-order that. That would be a massive blessing. Lastly, and this is really exciting, we have a documentary that's coming out to 500 theaters across America. And the documentary, we called the documentary after the title of what Rolling Stone said about us on their front page article. They called me a Jesus Christ superspreader. And they attacked us in a hit piece and began to run with it. And New York Times took that, and CNN took that, and all the outlets. And the Lord was kind of like, actually, that's really your name. Like, you're called to be a Jesus Christ superspreader. And so we took the name Superspreader, and there was a documentary that was created about the movement. Cinemark, Regal, and AMC have all agreed to show them on theaters across America. So on August 19th, we are going to premiering a story of revival in America. You're going to see Antifa attack us. You're going to see people praise us. You're going to see people hate on us. I mean, it's really going to show both sides of the story of what we endured. However, you're going to see God show up in some of the darkest cities in America: Portland, Seattle, LA, right in the height of the riots, right in the height of the burning the courthouse, God showing up in the midst of that crisis. And I really think it's going to bless people and give us a lot of hope for what God's doing in this nation.
Wow. This is, and the name of that documentary is?
Superspreader.
Superspreader. Okay.
Yeah, you can go to Superspreader. I think it's superspreaderfilm.com, superspreaderthefilm.com, and you can find out more. But if you follow us on our social media channels, you'll see the trailer that we posted and a lot more coming up. But yeah, we're going to pack theaters, and our heart is to put one evangelist in every single one of those 500 theaters. So at the end of the movie, you have somebody that stands up and gives an altar call. We're just believing for a massive harvest of souls.
Oh, wow.
Wow. One evangelist in each theater. And Sean, if they want to be able to track where you're speaking or where you're ministering, where do they go? What's your website?
They can go to seanfeucht.com or letusworship.us. Letusworship.us or Sean Feucht, my last name, F as in Frank, E-U-C-H-T.
Yes, your last name. Yes, your last name is like Wallnau. I always thought, Lord, if you really wanted people to find me, why did you give me a name no one can spell? But I appreciate it so much. All right, Sean, God bless you, brother.
Thank you guys so much. God bless you.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. So it's funny about Sean, we tracked so closely together in the spirit in so many different ways. I remember when I was in Guatemala, and I walked into a room. I just arrived, and I was kind of jet lagged, And they said, and Mario Bramnick said, well, we're meeting with the Senate and I said, who, what? I had no idea I was going right into a full-blown conference that had already started. And I come in behind the stage, kind of like, dumpy and frumpy with my luggage. Then I walked out, and there's everybody organized. They had to be, separated because of COVID, all wearing masks, all in suits, like around, 400 legislators and stuff. And I'm standing up there, but they were all like in their rows, like military structure, because every chair was separated a specific distance. And they said, well, just greet the people. We know the Lance just got in here off the plane, but I want you to say something, and the people want to hear what you have to say. And there's Cindy Jacobs there. She's going to share that's after me. And I thought, I have got to have something more than, well, it was a nice flight. See you tomorrow. So I stood up there and I said, here's the scene from the movie Gladiator. You have, which I don't normally talk about. It's when Maximus is riding down with his horses to face the German tribes. And as he rides down, he gives this one command: hold the line. America has had a hotly contested election. We believe as fraud was involved. We believe that Latin America, Central America, South America is going to be overrun by the same lawless impulse. It'll be Marxism. We also believe there are sheep nations. God is saying to the church, now is not the time to despair or to evacuate, but hold the line. If you'll hold the line, reinforcements are coming. Keep your nation in alignment with God. You'll see relief, and it'll be a great victory for you. Don't back down. So I come back, and Sean's theme for his ministry is hold the line. I think his last book was Hold the Line. And I thought, I just think God puts this stuff into the atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
And then people pick it up. People like us hear it, and it's like Donald Trump is a wrecking ball to the spirit of political correctness. You hear it, other people hear it. But hold the line is the word, and now you can see why. Because if you hold the line, there's only so much the enemy can throw. And then suddenly it's like the great backlash. The pushback starts to happen, and the pushback is happening right now. We're seeing a series of court cases. And for those of you that don't know, the Coach Kennedy case is pretty significant because it was simply, I don't know if you heard the Gorsuch decision. Did you hear what Gorsuch said about the Coach Kennedy case today?
I didn't. No, I wasn't able to read it. Not yet.
All right. Well, it's a case where just a coach for a high school team kneels down in the middle of the field and simply thanks God at the end of the game. He's not doing it during the game. He's not requiring the students or the school to do it. And Gorsuch's introduction, let me read this quickly. He says this: Joseph Kennedy lost his job as a high school football coach because he knelt at midfield after games to offer a quiet prayer of thanks. Mr. Kennedy prayed during a period when school employees were free to speak with a friend, call for a reservation at a restaurant, check their email, or attend to any other personal matters. He offered his prayers quietly while his students were otherwise occupied. Still, the Bremerton School District disciplined him anyway. It did so because it thought anything less could lead a reasonable observer to conclude that it endorsed Mr. Kennedy's religious beliefs. That reasoning was misguided. Both the free exercise and free speech clauses of the First Amendment protect expressions like Mr. Kennedy's, nor does a proper understanding of the amendment's Establishment Clause require the government to single out private religious speech for special disfavor. The Constitution and the best of our traditions counsel mutual respect and tolerance, not censorship and suppression for religious and non-religious views alike. That's the introduction to the decision. So you've got a splendid defense there of the fact that the government isn't to be punishing. The spirit you almost get for the Democrats is punitive. You can't do this, you can't do that, like you're doing something criminal, when in fact the point is they can single out a Muslim or a Christian or a Hindu for their practices of faith, even if they're teaching in a school. And Gorsuch, that's just his opening argument, but you guys should read these decisions because they're pregnant with the practicalities of Christian apologetics. Well, thank you for the team, and thank you for the folks out there that are liking, subscribing. We love your comments, and we're going to see you again tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to this Lance Wallnau broadcast. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure to subscribe and share the episodes. See you tomorrow.